So in this, for half an hour, I will speak you like a member of South Architects Studio. It's a small studio that I with Jetta prepared to work. We are working for some years, about 3 years ago. Anyway, we are trying to move from a conventional kind of construction, a conventional kind of architecture to a different way. And this was the reason that we slowly changed some things in our working life. For example, we changed office. We moved to a art and crafts village close to Chania, where some other technicals like ceramist or artist work there, so we can change knowledge and opinion about the work. We can have some other ideas. And slowly we started with some new constructions, with some new working to move our kind of work. So we can explain slowly at the beginning with some examples of some constructions, and then in the conclusion you can understand maybe what is the difference from a conventional way of working and a new different way.
The projects that we're going to show you are, of course, works that we have done also before, us getting together, because we had these chances or the luck, so to say, to have some clients that wanted to work with these materials, of course. So we begin with one project that was done in Drapanos, that was in collaboration with Antonia Diamandaki. That was a straw bale technique construction of a seminar hall of 230 square meters. The study was done in 2010, and the construction the year after. The statical study has done one engineer here in Chania, who is Anastasis Andreadakis. He's here also, Antonia. Antonia is member also of Pilico. That was our first building with natural materials in Crete. I consider this building a very big luck, so to say, because sometimes we are waiting for a project to come and it doesn't come, and somehow when we started to love natural materials, we have a very nice chance to do it with a client that wanted very much to work with natural materials, of course. So this project was a project that was made from a timber frame load-bearing structure. All the filling walls, the outside walls, were straw bales of 50 centimeters thickness. We had workshops done for the straw bale constructions together with Amazon Nails. At that time was one group of women that were living in the United Kingdom and was working with straw bale constructions, and of course giving workshops all over the world about these techniques. The final product, so to say, was a very loved by people environment, and this was also a very nice experience from us. I want to say that before building this building, the client wanted to have contact with the local community. We had several talks about this project so that people that were living in that area could arm it, could love it, so they would ready to use it after the construction. The second project that came was one single-story house in the settlement of Nyohorio here in Chania. Here was we were using a light clay technique The construction was done in 2013 and 14. This building was designed and constructed from, again, a load-bearing timber frame. This study was done by engineer Eleftheria Tsakanika, who was a talker yesterday here. The techniques that we have used in this building was the light clay technique for the first time. It was a very nice, finally, technique that we slowly realized that is something that can have very good results in the usage of the building during the whole year. Inside, we had also some adobe bricks walls. You can see them here. Yes. And the plasters that we have used are earth and lime plasters, and lime plasters only in the areas of the wet areas. Here you can see some outside views and inside of the space. We had a study of a single-story house in Koufos in Chania that remained in the stage of the study till now. This was, again, a study that the static engineer was Tassos Andreadakis. The technique that here the client wanted to use was the hempcrete technique from hemp that, of course, we don't have here and we have to import. You want
okay.
to? No.
This is another project. Usually, it's very common here in Greece and especially in Crete to work in a contest, or in the city, or in a village. Sometimes the village is a traditional village. So in this case, the question was, is possible in a traditional village to build with natural material, to build with light clay system, for example. We are using to work with this system because we think that is the appropriate for Greece. We worked in time without serious problems, and we could do it. That means that we had to put this house very close with other houses to adapt with very attention, a big attention in the site, and anyway, we had some. We worked with different techniques like plasters, earth plasters, lime plasters, wooden constructions. I can tell that is without very difficult. We have not a lot of experience, but I can tell that is something that somebody can do it. So it is. There are techniques that they go on. Okay.
These are
okay.
some.
There are some pictures
the,
and
the inside of the house and the outside
yes,
ones.
About the static was again Anastasios Andreadakis, the civil engineer. We have in the static we have some technical problems that I think in this case is not necessary to speak about this. Okay.
Then.
This is another project that is not worked, but we are going on with the permissions. It is in the city. It's a third floor construction in the third floor of existing house, and we try to adapt our techniques in the urban context.
Here was a consulting work of us in a project that was done from other architects in Agios Nikolaos in an eco-agritouristical settlement. It's called Limini. This woman, which is an amazing person, has done all this work self-constructed together with 2 workers. We have gone there to give consultancy about how to build the walls with the light clay technique. Christelle has already finished 2 buildings from them, and they have already started to work with very good results.
Okay, this is another new construction we are going on in this moment. We are just in the wooden construction. Okay.
No
it's
words.
not.
This was one house that we started to build with, but finally the client decided not to build with natural materials anymore. She didn't like, she changed her mind. Probably we were, I don't know, probably scary, and even if it took a lot of time to go with all the procedures to get the license to demolish an older house that was there, and of course to start with the construction. Finally she decided not to go on, so the works were terminated in the stage of the foundation. So
the experience is not always in the good way. So this is a life. So we had to adapt.
Finally, we actually are here because we wanted to talk about the problems or the easy things and the problematic things that we have faced during these last years with the natural materials constructions in Greece. First of all, it's the thing of the client. Where we strongly believe that the person that wants to build with natural materials has to have a strong philosophy that can support these buildings. It is very difficult to convince somebody, at least in our local environment, to build with these materials. They are feeling insecure. Mostly, they don't know the techniques. They are asking, and what will happen? Will it fall? What about the seism? What about the mice? Whatever. They find obstacles, and many of them, they do not want to listen about these techniques. We had these opportunities to work with people that have already also participated in the construction. This? Yes? For example, this person is the owner of its own house. He has worked together with workers, and it was at a period where he had no work. That's important because for him, all this free space of time was filled with building his own house. And of course, we know that it's important that in this kind of structures, that persons that use them and live inside of them, it is very good to know the construction, to know the problems that might occur, to be ready to solve if any of it rises. And of course, when they live inside the space, they feel more safe that they can handle the whole building, and not that they need from somebody else to come and solve their problem. So, for example, here when we do a clay, we keep some material from our plaster, and when a problem occurs, then the builder, the owner, knows that he can reuse in a hole or in a rise the material that he has by himself, which is a very important issue. Of course, for these constructions, many times we produce the material on site. These bricks, for example, were constructed for this house in Nyohorio by the owner and the workers, sun-dried there and directly used in the construction. And well, this is the previous that we have showed you, the house in Kufos, that was a one-story house. Here we have also a person that is very conscious about natural building materials. He himself, on the upper photo you see the plot, on the photo down you see the plot with the cultivation, the legal cultivation of industrial hemp. He was one of the few persons that have legal cultivation of hemp in Greece, because the law came out some year ago, and he is very proud and very going after using his own material, his own production, or with the idea of using his own production for constructing the house. Here, of course, yes, I said the problematic before. I don't think that I have to say things about this. Now, the design was one of the aspects that, of course, gives a big problematic, which means that we have the things to face when every time that we have a new project, the problems that we face, and the design that we do needs some special technical knowledge, which is not very difficult to achieve, but needs a background that we have to search or support. Usually, what we want to apply in our constructions is, first of all, a bioclimatic design in combination with a shell that has natural materials. This we cannot achieve always 100%. That's why we do combination with conventional materials or in several stages of the house. For example, foundations, usually we use from cement. This makes also the client feel more comfortable and more safe that the house is based on very good foundations that he already knows. Okay. Of course, choosing the right technique, as Eleftheria Tsakanika told us yesterday, is a very important thing, because every time we have to face also some new problems. We have realized that, for example, light clay techniques is a technique that we can manage, it's easy, and of course gives us a result of walls that do not have on their face different materials. Because we have to use load-bearing constructions in Greece, which means that non-load-bearing which means load-bearing structures and non-load-bearing walls, we have to incorporate our frame, our load-bearing frame, inside the wall. So many times when we have to use materials like adobes or straw bales, this is very durable procedure, because we have to cut the adobes, we have to put them inside the timber frame, which creates many problems. As you see, for example, as we had in this construction, the first one with the straw bales, every straw bales, when we had a wind diagonal for the construction, we had to cut the bale in the form so that it can go through the diagonals and the columns. This is a very big problem. These are some photos of the foundations that we told you before. Materials, the use of the materials.
Okay, another thing that is changing when we are moving to another conception is the new materials. It's not easy to find, for example, in Crete, straw bales. is not easy to move them. The cost change. We have to manage earth or lime. Lime, for example, usually is not in good quality, so we have to look for it or to take it and prepare it for some months. Sorry? Thank you. So these things change the timetable of the work, and this is very important. We must have another program to our work. Anyway, we manage it. In the moment, our experience is positive because all these materials are not so complicated, and this is very nice. We can adapt it, our work.
Of course, here in Crete and in Greece in general, we don't have conventionated, prefabricated materials for earthen constructions. We don't have earth for plaster, particularly for plaster, so we take excavated earth for that, which means that we have to check for the specifications that this earth has. We have to do many experiments of what proportions we have to use inside the plaster as far as the sand or the straw or the clay is concerned. This makes our work more artisanal, so to say, and sometimes not so professional. Even if our thought is professional, the work is sometimes an experimenting thing that we have to do as engineers, and and we teach, of course, to the people that collaborate with in the building. Another aspect that we have faced, which is interesting, is the timber frame, of course, certification issues. For example, in Greece, we don't have natural wood which is certified for its statical strength. Yes. So we usually have to use glulam timber frame so that we have specific particular specifications, and so that the engineer can calculate all the behavior of the building based on something that he's sure. Of course, engineers differ. The engineer's approach differs. Here, for example, you see the columns and their connection with the fundaments of two different approaches. One system is lighter and it's probably columns, which is more often. The other one is more peasant. It has more specific and measured places where every hole is done and every vida beni. We see here these different things. You can see here, for example, this is a very nice example where this is a junction, a combination where every element comes in this is a piece of art that many times has to be hidden because we do the wall of the light clay, and finally we don't see this. And this is an amazing amount of hours of working for the engineer that we realize and that we support, of course. But it's also a rising of the cost of the construction, because we have to find...
we can propose to Chiloé this system.
Yes. Where is Renato? Or, of course, other approaches like this, for example, which we have experienced. This is another way of junction. Okay, this here we don't use all these metal elements to do. This is another approach. And of course here, for example, together with these diagonals, we had this
OSB.
diaphragmatic function of walls that are done with timber materials, okay? Which some people think it's not okay, some others think it's okay. So, and we are in the middle somehow many times, and we say, okay, is it better? Is it easier? Can we do it another way? This is the thing of the integration.
Okay, the integration is something very important.
No,
Anyway, it's not
the site
the organization
of time and no.
Okay, we speak about it just before. It's not.
Yeah, I wanted to say about this. For example, here you see the two buildings are covered with plastic. Why? Because we had rain. Okay. Or the one above didn't manage to finish inside the summer period, so the rain started, the wall was not still dry, we cannot apply the next layer, because if we do, we will have cracks and we have problems. So everything has to be calculated in the right time, which means that can never be calculated in the right time, because the authority probably does not give us the license before this summer. So we have to wait till next summer to build, because otherwise we probably might have problems in our construction. Here we can see some ways that we have used in...
about the workers. We can speak a little about the workers. Usually our experience is that it is not necessary other one or two persons inside to have a big knowledge. It's very easy to instruct simple workers to do some works and go on, and the work go on. And this is very useful for the construction.
Here we can see the photo.
Sometimes, yes, this is interesting, because sometimes we have to manage some new instrument for the construction. For example, in this case, we had to, the owner did it, to do this machine that we use to prepare the light clay material. In other situations, we have to prepare or to found other instruments and to use them every time. So we have to think every time and to discover new.
And this is, of course, because till now we have worked on projects that were different, and that we were doing also for the first or the second time. So we slowly start to have an experience additional to the previous one, and so we hope that this will facilitate our work, because on the beginning this is really sometimes not stressful, but really strange. 30 centimeters, together with the plaster 35 maximum. And we have a class B building behavior, class B energetic. See. And most of them, they use either passive means of heating and cooling, or renewable energy solutions. The legislation is this.
Okay, we can tell just two words about the legislation and about the relationship with the public administration. Our works, we can tell that we hadn't a serious problem with the public administration. Usually they was very positive to us. So maximum we had the same problems as a conventional construction. So in the moment, I don't know in the future, but in the moment we have serious problems. About the legislation, we have all the European legislation that cover a big part of our works in static. We have the Euro Codic or the energetic legislation. We think that in the future we must have more specific normatives about the natural material. This is a thing that we try to go on to start to do something about this question.
And of course, because we have the earthquake issue here in our country, one of the most important things that we consider is how to be able the timber frame together with the wall collaborate. Because till now, the engineers calculate the structure as if no wall exists. Even if this is a very important matter that they could probably collaborate, but of course we don't have any research and results from research so that we can base on that and do a regulation or receive a regulation from the country that can assure that our building is having a good seismic behavior.
Okay, we are in the middle of a way. We are not conclusive, or we have not exactly a system that we have to repeat every time. Every time we have to change it, we have to perfect, and we have to study, to experiment, and go on. This is our philosophy.
And of course, the market, as it is, as we see today, okay, we have the conventional, so to say, buildings that have the biggest proportion of the pie, so to say, and very small initiatives from the other part of natural building construction slowly come inside the conventional design, entering some ideas that and applying these materials. And of course, in the future, we want this to be to multiply so that we have another market raising to receive a better regulation, to receive some materials that are prefabricated, because this is a very big lack in the market. And of course, because we think that this construction can create a local market, can create, for example, we can do here, we have a lot of clay in Crete and different clays in Crete. This is something that we realized slowly in the procedure, because with the contact of the university, together with Professor Markopoulos some years ago, we did participate in a program with the thermal isolation of building materials, and we realized in this research that we have many and different types of clays only in the region around the city of Chania, which is, of course, very encouraging in order to continue with all this matter. And the thing that you saw...
The economic parameter that is very important for everybody, especially for the owner. And we can tell that working with natural material is better for a local community. We have more hours more workers to work there. The materials are from the local market, and for sure this is more sustainable.
The vision, okay, the personal vision, so to say, is that we can live from our work. Till now, it is difficult to live doing only projects with earth. And of course, this is the aim, so that it is important from an engineer, from an architect, to be able to live from his work. Here I wanted to show somehow our our own image as architects. This is a cartoon from the architect and cartoonist Louis Hellman of the 1930s, and he shows here the image of the architect as he'd been seen from the public. That was the first one. He's somebody that is in the clouds and does his ideas. By the client, of course. Come on, here we have nice things to show you. By the quantity surveyor, okay, here, money, you can do whatever you want, don't worry. By the planners, wow, a person that has write very nice proposals to build. By the builder, that, okay, he's a little bit gay, this one. And by himself, of course, that we want to save the world with our ideas. And we somehow wanted to change this vision of the image of the architect as we can somehow believe it. So we give a ladder to the architect to come a little bit to the earth and be more realistic probably about himself, to have some collaboration with the clients, because it's important that the user of buildings with natural materials can use their building in many ways. Of course, the quantity surveyor to give constructions that are not very economical, to design together with the planner, and not that these things are distinguished. Of course, to be a hands-on architect, so he has taken his hat off. And okay, I don't think that we never would change our way of seeing ourselves, that we are the persons that we can save the world, okay? That was it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.